will now come to order. We have 4 items on the agenda. If you wish to speak on any of the items on the agenda or general comment to this committee, please fill out one of these cards, which are to my left, to your right, and then give them to the clerk, and we will call you up in the order that those items come up for discussion on the agenda. So with that, we'll begin with item number 1.
Item number 1 are communications from the mayor and the city administrative officer relative to the fiscal year 2006 congressional mandated award for the Ramona Gardens Gang Reduction and Youth Development Zone.
Okay. Come on up. I have some questions.
Hi, Sergio Samayoa, Deputy Director for GRID.
Okay.
The CAO was actually going to present this, but I do have some talking points if you want to go ahead and just get the basic information.
Sure.
Okay. So at this time, the Mayor's Office respectfully requests the authority to accept the modified grant program and budget for the fiscal year 2006 Congressional Mandated Award for Ramona Gardens Gang Reduction Youth Development Zone for the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. On September 5th, OJJDP awarded the City of Los Angeles $98,728 grant award to operate the Safer Cities Initiative in Ramona Gardens housing development. The original grant period was from September 1, 2006 to August 31st, 2007. The City Council accepted the grant application and grant award on November 1, 2006 through a motion, and in order to meet the deadline to return grant documents to OJJDP. Since the Council approval in November 2006, OJJDP has approved a series of extensions for this grant. On December 1, 2007, the contract was extended to May 31st, 2008. On March 8, 2008, the contract was extended to August 31st, 2008, and on July 22nd, 2008, the contract was extended to December 31st, 2008. And on October 31st, 2008, the contract was extended to August 31st, 2009, which is the now existing closing date. On October 16, 2008, the grantor also approved the modified scope of work and program budget. The grant does not require city matching funds. In terms of the grant budget, while some of the line items presented by the Mayor's Office communication differ slightly from those of the CAO report, our staff has worked closely with the CAO, and some of the adjustments made were related to changes in the cost allocation rate. So the Mayor's Office agrees with these changes, and we do not anticipate any problems with our grantor.
So you agree with the CAO on those discrepancies?
Yes. They're not necessarily discrepancies, they're adjustments that were made based on the cap rates that had changed with the new fiscal year. Okay. The main, what the grant is going to pay for is mayor's salaries and fringe benefits. We propose that the budget for this grant be modified to support salary and fringe benefits for the existing GRID program manager, who currently coordinates prevention and intervention programs in Ramona Gardens GRID zone. A portion of this budget will be used for fiscal year 08-09, and the remainder will be expended in fiscal year 09-10 before the close of the grant on August 31st, 2009. The remaining portion of the program manager's fiscal year 08-09 salary and fringe benefit was paid through the Justice Assistant Grant, JAG. The remaining portion of the program manager's fiscal year 09-10 salary and benefits will be supported by the GRID fiscal year 09-10 budget, general fund. Please note that the hours spent for both program manager and the accountant are being tracked through D-Time electronic payroll tracking system in order to avoid supplanting. Also, GRID office plans to submit a request to extend the date of the grant closure in order to fully expend the line items allocated to salaries for fiscal year 09-10. As far as suppression, in its modified form, this grant award does not support suppression. However, it is important to note that there's a fully functional clear site in Ramona Gardens, which has been in existence since the fall of 2007. The Ramona Gardens Clear Team is supported through a variety of grants and city funds, more specifically the California State Supplemental Law Enforcement Services Fund. So at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and Stacy Sosa from the CAO's office is joining us.
Thank you. Stacy? Anything you want to add to your report?
No, I think he covered it all.
Okay. Now, when it comes to funding allocations in the Ramona Gardens GRZ, how much is allocated to prevention and intervention? How does that break down?
I think I have the. You mean in terms of the salaries, how it's broken down for prevention
No,
and
just
intervention?
grossly, how's it broken down for intervention? How much of that is intervention? How much is prevention?
Don't.
Categorically, how much for prevention? How much for intervention?
Okay, let's see.
I do not know that for the intervention, at least for contract services, the contract prorated for a whole year is 500,000, and for prevention, it's $1 million.
Okay, so 500,000 for intervention and $1 million for prevention. Okay.
In terms of the salary, there's no definitive breakdown because the program manager deals with both, and it just depends on what's needed at the time.
Now, how much is going on, or shall I say, in that GRZ, how much is allocated for suppression activities, such as deputy, city attorney, LAPD, district attorney, probation?
Let's see. I believe last year it was $412,217. And then it looks like there was an additional $98,634 that was set aside for the district attorney salary.
48,000, you said?
No, 98,000.
90.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know of any.
And then there was also $97,000 for the LA County Deputy Probation Officer. I believe those cover those items, right? Suppression.
Okay. And how much is allocated for administration? Program manager, administration, et cetera?
Approximately just under $80,000 between the program manager's salary and then the portion that pays for the accountant.
Okay. All right. And then how much is allocated for evaluation?
The evaluation contract is, well, we contracted one contractor at $900,000 for the year
For the entire
to cover
city?
the entire city. So that's broken down.
And how many areas does that contractor cover?
It covers the 12 grid zones plus
Including
8.
this one?
Yeah, plus this one, including this one and the non-grid zones as well, which are 8.
All right. So if that's the case, it's in the range of tens of thousands of dollars if you were to just average it out and break it down. Okay. Now, when was the mayor's office notified by the Department of Justice of the grant extension? What date was that? Do you date stamp things as you receive them? Is it acknowledged via email? How did they notify the mayor's office?
We're notified via email. We have relationships with the Department of Justice, and there is constant correspondence through email, so we're usually notified instantaneously.
So what day were you notified on this one?
On the latest contract extension, according to this, it's October 31st, 2008, when we were notified that the contract was extended to August 31st, 2009, I'm sorry.
But you were notified in 2008?
Yes, October 31st, 2008.
Okay. And when was the CAO notified of the need to produce a transmittal for the grant extension?
The transmittal was, it's dated July 16th, and, I'm sorry, It's dated, our transmittal was dated April 24th, but they didn't necessarily get it right away. That's when the report was produced. According to the report, it was received on May 13th, 2009. So I'll just go on that date.
Correct. May 13th was when our office received it.
Okay. Okay. So what caused the CAO report to be generated so close to the August 31st, 2009 date of this, the end of the extension?
We are working with the mayor's office to get clarification on some of the issues pertaining to the grant award. For example, the cap rate, we had to make some adjustments there. And then also, we had requested that information be provided regarding how much funding is being allocated for the current fiscal year, 09-10, which had not previously been provided in the original transmittal from the mayor's office.
Okay, so back to the mayor's office, why the time lapse between October 31st, 2008 and May of 2009?
Well,
Why so much time? And is that-
Actually, I believe that the latest that they received information from the grantor as far as modifying the scope of work and extending the grant award was actually August 31st, 2009.
August
No,
31st, 2009?
Oh,
That date
sorry,
hasn't come yet.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I apologize. It was October 2008, correct. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
To October, not August, October.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct,
in
October.
October, we received both the latest extension and also the modified scope of work and program budget. To answer your question, there's been a number of transitions. I came into the grid office in August, and so I was able to talk to HSBS about some of the history of this grant.
In
and there was-
August of,
August of '08.
okay. And your name again, Sergio?
Sergio Samayoa.
Samayor. Go ahead.
This grant has been subject to a number of transition changes, so on and so forth, including, I hear the liaison we had at DOJ passed away at some point. There was some discussion back and forth as to how exactly this money was going to be used. So in that, there was a delay. In around the October period of time, October 2008, the admin staff, as you know, we were starting our program. We were still hiring people. We were very spread thin, and I think that some priority decisions had to be made in terms of what was going to be done. We were spread thin in terms of putting together an RFP. We didn't have a lot of time to do it. We had already set our deadlines, and so it was basically all hands on deck up until we were able to get up all of our contractors up and running. And it's basically the pace has gone at that level ever since.
And it'll continue.
Yes.
The reason why I wanted to make that clear is because anytime, and I work for an elected office, I happen to be an elected myself, anytime the bureaucracy, and I mean it in the nicest way possible, the bureaucracy is dealing with an elected office, it puts them in a very awkward position when they're sitting there saying, okay, hand it over so we can do our part, and then stream into the system, such as reporting to the city council.
Mm-hmm.
It puts them in a very awkward position when any one of us delays a process, and we're not the first ones to say, before anybody says anything, we just want to make it very clear. We were the ones that held on to the documents, or we were the ones that held up the process. It wasn't them. And the reason why I bring that up is because I want to make sure that you're mindful of your answers to that question, because yes, we are dealing with human beings. We were and are dealing with a new paradigm of how we're dealing with this. The mayor's office had to ramp up with staff and put all their procedures in place and get their all of their efforts in place so that they can actually do their part when it comes to these matters. But up until right now, it seems as though the mayor's office wasn't as clear as you just were as to what happened. And guess what? It's not that big a deal. It's not that big a deal. But, things happen.
Yeah.
Somebody dies over at DOJ. Heaven forbid that should ever happen again. You're short personnel. You were ramping up. I get that. You had your learning curve yourself, Sergio. All those things were happening. But I think it's important that, including myself and my staff, that we're very forthright and speak up first and letting people know that, look, this report, we had something to do with this report coming in so close to this time frame that we're in right now. So I appreciate you answering those questions in that fashion. Yet at the same time, some of the answers to your questions are basically clarifying that those kinds of delays are probably not going to happen. And I use my words carefully, probably not going to happen in the future. Again, unforeseen things could happen, and some unforeseen things did happen. A lot of dynamics going on. Ramping up of personnel is one of those dynamics, and I'm sure everybody can appreciate that. So thank you for answering the question the way you did. So in the future, I anticipate that you feel very confident that we're not going to have time frames of receiving information from a third party and then 4, 5, 6 months go by before somebody else is given their task, so they can say, okay, now it's ball's in your court, do your part.
Right.
Correct.
And in addition, we're in communication with the CAO's office to meet and talk about time frames, so we can make sure that the CAO has what they need, and then we have what we need, so that it's a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm. So you've been with the mayor's office in this current capacity for a year?
About approaching a year.
Yeah. Plan on sticking around?
I will stick around as long as they need me.
Well, this issue's not going to go away anytime soon.
Right.
Okay.
Well, my goal is to make sure that the process is there, and it could, that we'll be responsive. I mean, that's part of our responsibility. We have to be responsive to the city needs. We have to be responsive to our contractors' needs. There's a lot of responsibilities there. So there'll be glitches along the way, and we have to repair those and try to, move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing that you need to understand is come September, there's going to be a change on how the city council is handling these matters. There's no longer going to be an ad hoc committee as it stands today. The president has chosen to collapse that. Ad hoc committees aren't supposed to last forever. Standing committees do. And so it's going to go to the Public Safety Committee from now on, and maybe even double referred. But for sure, the policy purview is going to be in the Public Safety Committee. But I'm going to be on that committee as well.
Right.
So understand that when something strikes me as though somebody's either holding back the truth or they don't want to point the finger and say it's not our fault, it's theirs, or what have you, I will get down to the bottom of it. It was something as interesting as when I chaired the committee that oversaw the Department of Water and Power. We had a constituent come forward and say, Department of Water and Power, multi-billion-dollar organization, they put out a bid for somebody to provide pop-up tents, the kind that we see whenever we go out to an event and say they have these little booths, those little portable tents, you put them up, and I mean, it seemed a little silly, but the person kept saying they didn't order the proper tents, they went to the wrong vendor, they basically did not honor their own RFP process. And then he brought up a point. He said those tents that they got are not fire retardant, and that was one of the requirements. And something as minute as that, and when I got the feeling that the person at the Department of Water and Power disputed those claims, and he said that they were fire retardant, et cetera, I said, okay. I asked the liaison for the Department of Water and Power to please go to the warehouse where those tents are and to actually get the vendor number from those and then call the actual maker of those tents and find out if they are in fact fire retardant. Because the person said, if you go check that number, you will see that they do sell fire retardant tents, and they were a minuscule amount of money per tent. You will realize that they did not acquire the tents as they said they needed from their RFP. So I said, okay, as silly as this sounds, we had somebody go do it. We postponed the item until the person came back. The person reported and said, I physically went to the warehouse. People chuckled. Physically went to the warehouse. I looked at it, and I'm here to report to you that the vendor number on that item is X. I called the vendor, Easy Up it happened to be, easy name to remember. I called Easy Up, and they said, these are not fire retardant. Maybe the person at the Department of Water and Power said the councilman is not going to send somebody to go check which product we actually have in stock. So he chose to lie to the committee. And as ridiculous as it sounds, somebody physically went, found out what warehouse they were at, went and read the number on the actual product, and came back and reported to the committee that that was not the case, that somebody had lied. And it wasn't the constituent, it was an employee of the Department of Water and Power. It was very disappointing to hear that. So all I'm saying is, don't think that when we ask you a question that it's such a small thing, and if you don't have the answer at hand, don't give us the answer. Don't make things up. Don't try to reason out in your mind. I think I could just tell them half of the truth, and before you know it, we'll all get past it.
Well, I've been in enough situations to understand that that's the wrong way to go. If it just it's saying information that's not right. And I tell my staff too, when we write our monitoring reports, we have to look at everything we do as if somebody else, a third party, is going to read it, because they will at some point. They're going to want to know what's going on with our department, and we have to be willing. Everything we do, we have to be willing to open it up to scrutiny, so that we can make sure that that people can learn from any of the mistakes that we did, even if we screwed up. We could at least let other people know how, because it's all about trying to improve the program, and a lot of the contractors we work with, everybody makes mistakes, so we have to treat them as though, their part of it is technical assistance, trying to help them out, trying to help them improve what they're doing. And if they keep stuff from us, we'll never know if there's a problem.
Exactly.
We can't do anything about it. So
being forthright goes in every direction.
Right. That's the standard everybody should have.
And I don't want to be a part of, nor do I want to participate in or condone anyone sidestepping having a very forthright and honest dialogue and processes that are going to be adhered to, and then and also events that occurred for them to be reported to any official committee, anything other than just the facts. That's the way it happened. Okay.
Understood.
Where did you go to school?
High school
and college?
I went to Garfield High School in East LA, and then I went to Yale in New Haven.
Yale?
Yeah.
And I'm not impressed by titles either.
Just a name brand.
The person at the Department of Water and Power happened to be there for 20-some years and was the senior purchasing agent, the head of the purchasing for billions of dollars at the Department of Water and Power. And he actually made the mistake of saying, I am the senior purchasing agent for this department. I know. So when he tried to use his credentials to say there's no need for you to check, that was a big mistake on his part, and it blew up in his face. So it's nice that you went back east. Very prestigious place. A few presidents have gone to Yale, right?
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah.
It was tough, but I made it.
Yeah, good. I have a good friend who went to MIT. I never let him live it down. I only went to UCSB and got the same kind of degree, but he was waiting in the snow. I went to the beach. I don't know who's the smarter one between the two. But he's a state senator now. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, where'd you go to school?
UCSB.
All right.
Fellow Gaucho.
And I'm just going to be really clear. I am biased toward UCSB.
I understand.
You're just lucky you didn't say USC. Okay, we do not have any public comment cards on item number 1. Is there anybody here to make public comment on item number 1? Public comment is open on item number 1. Seeing and hearing no one come forward for public comment on item number 1. Public comment on item number 1 is now closed. With that, this committee will move forward the approval of the CAO recommendation. Next, we'll take up items 2 and 4 combined. So we're now on items 2 and 4.
Items 2 and 4 are City Administrative Officer Report, motion Wesson Reyes, and relative to grant funding from the U.S. Department of Justice and California Gang Reduction Intervention Prevention Program for services in the gang reduction and youth development zones.
Okay. Yes.
Barbara Taylor from the CEO's office. Did you want me to do a brief presentation, or do you have questions?
I have questions.
Okay.
Okay. When it comes to this particular process, is there any particular reason why the mayor's office didn't approach the council members of these respective areas? For example, use the first example is the LA Metropolitan Churches provide prevention services in certain areas of the city. It's my understanding that the council members of those areas didn't get approached for specific input.
To extend the contracts?
Mm-hmm.
Because they were already, well, we had already submitted transmittals for the RFP, and as part of the RFP, we were given the option to renew. So the only criteria we used to renew is whether they were, providing the services in an adequate way. So we actually monitored the contractors, the prevention contractors twice, and we provide as much technical assistance as we could. So because it was already approved as part of the original transmittals to approve the selection from the RFP, we're asking permission to extend these contracts based on that. I think that there was language in the transmittal saying that it was based on availability of funds, and so the city attorney told us that we had to, disclose where we were getting our funds and how much funds were being used to pay for these contractors, and that's why it needed a new authorization from council.
Mm-hmm. So on that note, what procedures or what correspondence does your team have with council offices?
From my office, I handle more of the administrative stuff, so I push paper around. So I can't really answer the question as to day-to-day correspondence. I know that the program side handles a lot of the correspondence directly with the council offices, and so I can't answer that question.
Okay. Is there anybody from the mayor's office who can answer that question, or that knows anything about any particular standards of correspondence that you have on a regular basis with council offices? Going once, going twice. Okay.
I do respond to council calls if they call my office and they ask for specific questions. I'd be glad to talk to anybody. Man, I've always been open to that, so I'm not close to that. I can't talk about if we proactively have gone to council offices to let them know ahead of time about something.
Well, again, you've only been here a year, and we've been working on this from a policy vantage point, and also the mayor's office has been working on this since we've moved these responsibilities to the mayor's office. But it was always part of the rhetoric and the dialogue that the council offices would be working closely with the mayor's office in the areas in which they are providing these services in our council districts. And I happen to be probably more privy to a lot more details in and out of my district regarding these matters, because I happen to chair this committee, and I happen to be a little anal about making sure that we cover every single issue in this committee. But with all due respect, there are 13 council members sitting in other seats. There's a handful of them that have these zones in their area, and I'm hearing more and more from them that not that the mayor's office doesn't respond to their calls and dialogue with them when they initiate, but I'm not getting much feedback from my colleagues that the mayor's office is initiating that kind of dialogue with the council offices. But I want to point out, the mayor's office, including Jeff specifically, had said that that dialogue will be proactive from the mayor's office, as well as being recipient and cooperative in dialoguing with the council offices. Go ahead.
Okay. No, that's, yeah. I was going to say something, but you actually answered it.
Okay. All right. On a different matter, do you know the reason why the intervention service provider in the 77th Florence Graham grid zone was terminated?
The contract was actually terminated for convenience, which is a technical term.
You better clarify that, because that term is usually loosely used.
Yeah, I mean, it could be misinterpreted as.
Yeah.
When our boilerplate for our contract was created, we were given two options for termination. And it's in section 703 of the contract. And we have the right to terminate for cause, which means we would have to disclose the reason why we terminated and then go through a hearing process. And the city attorney also put in language that said both the city and the contractor themselves have the right to terminate for convenience. And the only requirement to that was we would give the contractor 30-day notice. So if the city deems that it was in the best interest not to contract with the contractor anymore, or if the contractor deems that it's in the best interest not to work with the city anymore, both parties have the right to end the contract based on our boilerplate.
So it can be a unilateral termination
Yeah.
by acknowledgement, notice to the other party, and that would be acknowledged.
Both parties have that right.
Okay. In this case, it was the city or the mayor's office that initiated that right.
Correct.
Okay. Since the mayor's office did do that, once again, was there correspondence or communication with the council offices in the 77th Florence Graham grid zone about the possible need to change contractors from the current contractor to another contractor?
I don't think I can answer that question.
So you personally didn't communicate?
No, I didn't say anything to anybody. That really wasn't my, part.
So who in the office would be the closest or most logical person to initiate such a communication in this 77th Florence Graham area? Does anybody know that answer? Who would that be?
I would just have to, say that the director would probably contact the council office.
Okay.
That was in question.
Mm-hmm. Again, see, that's a perfect example where I would strongly recommend that the mayor's office not look at this as a black and white matter as far as, are we required to communicate with the council office of that area? Nope. Nothing here says we're required to do so. So, okay, I guess we're not going to communicate something. Don't you think that the termination of a contract like this that affects this kind of area in someone's district is a matter of importance, not only to the mayor, but to the council member elected to represent that community?
I think you're right. What I'm trying to not do is tell you something that is either false or misleading or is going to take you somewhere else. In all likelihood, we did contact the council office, but I
Okay,
can't.
well, somebody shed some light on that. Don't be shy. I'm not your boss, so
Ramel Hilario,
if you,
manager
I
for program
encourage you to
planning.
come up and speak if you have something to enlighten us.
Councilman Carnes, we did have correspondences with Council Member Parks' office and his chief of staff to notify that we were going to terminate the intervention contractor in that area.
Okay. So that was a proactive outreach from the mayor's, somebody from the mayor's office to the council member's
Correct.
office. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Who do you know who it was who communicated toward the council office from the mayor's office?
Sure, it was our director. It was Reverend Jeff Carr to the chief of staff.
Okay.
And I know that some meetings were scheduled to also meet with
The council member?
Council Member Parks in person.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. So now, what's the process for selecting a new prevention or intervention contractor if a contract is terminated, such as in this case?
Well, in consultation with the city attorney, if the RFP that was approved by council is still in effect, so we have the option to go to a second place and down the line as, you know, third place, fourth place, as long as they meet a minimal standard of, you know, that they can show an ability to provide the services in an adequate manner. If we can't find, or if we offer a contractor and they refuse, or they decline the offer, then we either do a new RFP, or if we can find a contractor that has a unique ability to serve that area, we can go through sole source. So we'd have to go through a procurement process. And, you know, if we go through the sole source, what we would do is do a cost-benefit analysis, and then we would have to justify why we chose that contractor.
Okay. And you're involved in that process right now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Anything else you'd like to point out?
No, not at this time.
You plan on going back to school?
No.
I was going to say, because if you are, where do you want to go?
Actually, I have an answer. Probably Stanford, if I go back.
Okay.
I'd love to go. I love that school.
Nice school. I didn't
Yeah.
realize how small it was. Anything else?
No.
No? Okay. Thank you. We do have cards to speak to item number 4. We have 2 comment cards on item number 4. Kevin Mustafa Fletcher and Maurice Reed. Yeah, 2 minutes, please. You'll each have a couple minutes to articulate your points to this committee.
Good afternoon. My name is Mustafa. I'm the director of Unity 2 Gang Intervention, the agency that has been terminated from 77. And just yesterday, we received another termination letter from SEA. And basically, we want to protest the fact that we're being terminated for personal reasons. Our work is excellent. We brought over 80% of the Bloods and Crips and Latino gangs in South Central to the table. We work with Latinos, the whole community, and basically, at this point, you know, we just feel like we're being slapped in the face. We sent the appeal in to Jeff Carr's office. Our appeals have been denied, contrary to what these guys are saying. When I talk to the council districts, all they saying is the mayor's office is saying they got the right to conveniently terminate our program with no appeal system or nothing. Jeff can just basically say we out and we out, and it's the ripple effect of what's going on. We got close to 25 employees that's been working since 2001. We had this contract with LA Bridges since 2001 to this date. Crime has been down and constantly going down. We're responsible for over 5 major gang treaties that brought the crime down in South Central to this date. 2 months ago in the Newton area, we had a peace treaty with the 40 Avalons and the Fortray Crips that was a result of 3 deaths. So, and at the same time, my staff is being sweated by Jeff Carr's office. Last year, we had 2 SNL programs that we were some of the best programs. I mean, where did we go wrong? Other than, you know, taking care of our business. We've been accused of a sexual harassment, but yet and still, I talked to Jeff Carr personally and say, well, who was it? Did anybody from actually Unity 2 say anything to the mayor's staff? And it's no. The answer was no. So I'm asking, well, where's the paperwork? We was given 60 days to complete a sexual harassment training, which we wasn't in agreement with, but at the same time, we was willing to comply with the city and go take care of the sexual harassment training. I made arrangements with the place. The day before we were supposed to go in and do the training, I was told to terminate it because it wasn't approved, but yet and still, when I talked to Jose and Jeff Carr, I got emails. I've been sending the council people the email correspondence between Unity 2 and the mayor's grid zone office, and it clearly shows that we've been taking care of our business in terms of trying to get the action plan together that's to stay satisfactory. The same place in which we're doing the sexual harassment training is the same exact place that the city of Los Angeles has a contract for. So when I sent another action plan in, 3 days after that, I received a termination letter from Jeff Carr stating that just basically, and prior to this, we was given 60 days to complete our sexual harassment training. 20 days before the training, the 60 days was up, we was terminated. So we never was given an appropriate opportunity to go to the training. We set the class up, and I yet to still see the actual sexual harassment charge or paperwork that's indicating that anybody from my staff personally said anything to the mayor's office. And it's just ironic that we've been doing this since 2001, and this is the first time that we had any major problems. Like I say, I done brought the F-13s. I got the F-13s and the East Coasters to the table. That was a racial war that lasted for like 2 years. I got the F-13s when even Latino gang intervention agencies were skeptical about bringing F-13s to the table. We was able to do this, and this was a quote-unquote black organization. I mean, I had a situation in which basically I hired this guy named Johnny who has the license to operate in the Newton area. And I was sent a letter, an email from the city basically telling me if Johnny's working for Unity 2, we're gonna nullify his contract. So at this point, when they telling Johnny, look, man, they gonna nullify my contract, he like, Mustafa, man, I can't help you, man. I'm gonna just volunteer my services to you. So if you need me, just let me know. So at this time, I had a meeting. They called me in to the city to discuss what's going on. Well, is Johnny working on your contract? What's going on? And I told him, how many people work 2 jobs? Johnny worked from 9 to 5 at Unity 2. The summer nights program started from 7 to 12. But yet and still, and my invoices and everything goes into the city once a month. So you got my paperwork in front of you, you know? So where is it that, why Johnny can't work for Unity 2? Are you trying to discombobulate my agency? You know, so I'm basically up against it. And like I said, at what point did we not do what we had to do for the city?
Mustafa, what's your understanding of what the appeal process is?
It's no appeal process. We sent the appeal to Jeff Carr. He simply sent me a letter back stating that the city has the right to conveniently eliminate your contract with a 30-day notice, and that's it. You know, I talked to Jan Perry about this. She said it's basically out of her hands, and she's trying to see what she can do to help us in this situation.
Okay, so you're basically conveying to this committee that you use your own method of appeal by asking why you're being terminated, but as far as you can tell, there is no like step-by-step process for an appeal.
There's no step-by-step process for appeal. I appeal to Jeff Carr's office and to the city council.
Okay, all right, thank you. Maurice?
Yes, how y'all doing this evening? My name is Maurice Reed. I work for Unity 2. I've been working for Unity 2 for several years now, and we've been working down in the grid area for like 5 years, being that I've been on with Unity 2 at that moment of time. Mustafa had hired me about 3 years ago and asked me to work in the Newton area down there, and I've been working with certain gang members in that area because I was raised and born on 41st and Hooper. And last year we worked with the SNL, Unity 2 with Beyond Boundaries for that park last year, and the murder rate in that area went down because of, we talked to certain gangs in that area, from Slauson to Adams, from Avalon to Alameda, in the grid zone in that area, and everything went swell. But this year we working down at the SNL program this year, and it's last year was better than this year, and we trying to hire more gang members from down that way because intervention is new down that way. So we trying to work with the Latinos and black gangs, as far as trying to get them to intervise with each other, talk to each other, and stop the black and brown killing down that way, Latino on Latino, black and black crimes. And basically, I think we did a good job last year, and we're trying to do a better job this year with it. So basically, by Unity 2 being down in that area, we've been basically doing good work. To me, I feel that way, and to some of the staff members that we have because of the money they had gave us last year.
Okay, thank you. Mustafa, when it came to terminating the contract with Unity 2, what what kind of notice did you receive? Was it, thank you for your services, in 30 days we're no longer going to have your services, or was it an explanation of what caused them to terminate the contract?
It was just point blank, your contract will be terminated in 30 days. We're exercising our right for for the conveniency clause, and that was basically it. No explanation. Several people tried to reach Jeff Carr. We was even on the radio show. The beat sent a mailer out to Jeff Carr's office. He was on vacation, and it was ironic that he's on vacation in 2 weeks that we were supposed to be suspended and couldn't be reached. And even at this time, when we was our office, they suspended our contract July 31st, but yet and still the Grid Zone office is still contacting my employees to respond to gang shootings. You know, so we still working, and we informed 77 and the police department that we will still continue to do the gang intervention work in that area because that's what we do.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here to speak on item number 2 or 4 at public comment?
Can I make a clarification?
Hold on one second. Seeing and hearing no one come forward for public comment on items 2 or 4, public comment is now closed. You want to make some comments on behalf of the mayor's office?
No, I just want to make a clarification that the 77-2, the contract they had was for intervention, and this motion has to do with prevention contractors. So I just wanted to make that clarification, just so that everybody understands.
Okay. All right, so with that, we'll go ahead and approve the CAO recommendations and move on to item number 3.
Item number 3 are communications from the mayor and the city administrative officer relative to the 2007 Edward Byrne Memorial Discretionary Targeting Violent Crime Initiative Grant Extension. This matter was also referred to Public Safety Committee.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Melissa Fleming with the CAO.
Ramel Hilario, Manager for Program Planning at the Grid Office.
Julie Crane with the Mayor's Office of Homeland Security and Public Safety.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to give a brief overview, or would you prefer to start with questions?
No, go ahead and give us an overview.
The Mayor's Office of Homeland Security and Public Safety is requesting authority to extend the performance period of this 2007 Targeting Violent Crime Initiative grant through September 30th, 2010. The total award amount remains unchanged at $1.65 million. The grant was originally provided for the creation of the 77th Florence Graham Gang Reduction Youth Development Zone in South LA. The Mayor's Office is also requesting approval of various contracting and financial authorities in order to fully expend the grant award. And I'm here with the Mayor's Office if you have any specific questions.
Okay. Anything else you want to say before I ask my questions? No? Okay. When it comes to the informal procurement process that identified Athena Software to develop a data collection system for the grid case management data, can you describe that process for me, please?
Yes, I can. The Grid Office obtained 3 bids from outside vendors that included XM, Clinovate, and Athena Software. All 3 organizations already provide case management data collection software to a number of mental health organizations. All 3 vendors were identified as having secure case management systems that could be modified to the grid specifications. Multi-year bids were then submitted by vendors that included system build-out, upgrades and modifications, licenses for up to 30 users at the same time, trainings, and also ongoing investment. After analysis of the vendors and the proposals, it was determined that all of the 3 vendors could build a system according to grid specifications. However, Athena Software was chosen because of its the most cost-effective bid. I want to share with you some numbers. Initial build-out costs and license fees were similar among the 3 vendors. It averaged around to $22,500, and again, that's 30 licenses. But the main difference was a programming cost, which included upgrades and also system modifications, which XM and Clinovate they charge additional fees between $10,000 and $24,000 annually, which was probably the key issue. Athena upgrades and system modifications are included in the first year bid. There's no additional programming cost, and Athena, as part of the training, they do teach system administrators how to make those simple modifications. So after learning that, the cost effectiveness, we decided to go to Athena. Then we went to the next step, and that was to initiate our bidder, our vendor, with ITA. So we went through their procurement process. Took a month. I submitted the proper documentation after their approval, which they looked at the fidelity of the program in terms of already existing information systems with LA. So after we obtained their approval, we decided then that Athena would be our vendor.
Okay. And what was the first year cost with Athena?
It's 20. It's actually based on 30. Comes out to around 25,000.
And then subsequent years?
Again, this is based from 30 licenses. Subsequent years, it's going to be 22,000.
Okay. Given the fact that there was no formal RFP process for the new data collection system, what safeguards are in place to ensure that Athena software has a long-term data collection plan?
Can you repeat that, Councilor?
Okay. What safeguards are in place to ensure that Athena software has a long-term data collection plan?
Well, they are working with not only our office, but our evaluators. If you're asking about the security of their data collection system, their servers, their technical aspects,
no
clarification on the question.
No, not the security, but when it comes to data collection, then you have accumulation, you have storage, you have all these kinds of things.
Got it.
It's one thing to use a program, for example, to write some emails or what have you. That's more of a softer responsibility when it comes to software. But when it comes to trying to create a system that you're going to depend on year after year after year, have you checked out whether or not it's going to be sustainable?
Absolutely. They have a dedicated server that can handle up to 100 agencies, a lot of gigabytes. I'm not completely too technical on that area, but they'll have a dedicated server that will store just years of data that would, that we would have access to. At the time of termination, if that happens, they'll turn over the data to us.
So the data you made sure, and if IT was involved, department was involved, I would hope and expect that they wanted to make sure that the data does belong to the city.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Are additional funds budgeted to this contract, or is that grant supporting the data collection system for the entire grid system?
When we did our RFP to both prevention and intervention agencies, we've asked for a 5% set aside. So each agency has set aside 5% of their total budget just for data collection purposes. So we intend at some point in time, because we're going to take care of the cost for the first year, that the agencies would then pay $864 per license. We also hope that there's generous amounts of money still left over, that they would have the capability to purchase more license for not only for their staff, but perhaps for their subcontractors as well.
Okay. Now, is the $5,000 for mapping services by the advancement project coming out of existing funds from within the mayor's office? Or if not, where would it be coming from?
That's correct. It's coming from their existing general fund budget that they already have allocated to them.
Okay.
So they're not asking for any additional funds.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
No.
You're not going to tell me what school you went to?
Went to Loyola Marymount University.
Oh. Isn't that one of those Jesuit schools?
It is a Jesuit school.
Okay. glad Sergio left the room. According to Bernard Parks' office, they're confirming with us that communication with them was not as stated a few minutes ago. So you might want to
I could
let
check
him
the
know.
emails.
Yeah, let him know. Or, yeah, I'd love to see those emails. Obviously, there's some kind of miscommunication or misunderstanding. Okay, it's not a hard thing to forget if you did communicate with somebody in the last couple of months. All right. Anything else you'd like to add on this item?
No.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you for those clarifications. Okay, at this time, we have public comment open on item number 3. Is anybody here to make public comment on item number 3? Seeing and hearing none, nobody coming forward for public comment on item number 3. Public comment is now closed on item number 3. With that, this committee will move to approve the CAO recommendations. Thank you. And that concludes the scheduled items to this committee today. And is there anybody here for general public comment to this committee? General public comment is now open. It is now closed. Seeing and hearing no one come forward, this committee is now adjourned.